Hello there, welcome to Sunday, or whatever day it is, and it's that matter of fact. The last YouTube video I did OpenStreetMap, Blender Addon, Architectonic Jam, Cities of Imagination, and the creator, here he's called Prokaitkura, came up with some notes, and he also told me that it's in Blender 2.8. So, because it's such a good add-on, I'm going to look at it in Blender 2, the latest build of Blender 2.80. And if you're listening, sorry, I can't pronounce it, Prokaitkura, can you please add anything that might, not be missing here or something? It's not, I'm kind of not doing it in a technical way. I'm looking at it as a way to make imaginary cities. So we've got OpenStreetMap here. And you can buy the plugin, so you can get it from GitHub in this address here. I'll put it in the link in the description. You can get the more expensive version, but I'm using the 590 version because I want to be able to edit the cities beyond what I'm pulling in the data. I just need the shapes. And if you didn't see last video, you will be surprised at what OpenStreetMap.org can do, because you can drag this data, and it's not just 2D shapes, it's actually a lot of the places in the planet Earth are 3D shapes. So we've got the new version of Blender, that because I didn't realize that the new build had this working in the new version, and I'll show you what version it is. It's 2019 Blender 2.80 beta, and it's left click by default. Wow. Okay, so I'll delete the cube, and you have to install the Blender add-on like usual installations in Blender. If you don't use Blender and you just want to use this add-on to export the city blocks into another 3D program, it's fine. It will cost you $5.90 to buy the add-on because Blender's free, so that's not bad as well. Here's the process. There's different ways you can do it. You can do it, so once it's installed, you'll think, where is it? So it's in this bit up here, OSM. You can either get it from coordinates or you can get it from a file. So last time I showed you from a file, so I'm going to endeavor to do it from the server this time. So I'm gonna, I think I just do server select, and it should pop up. Take a while. Why is it taking so long? It's a bit annoying, isn't it? Sorry. I think I'll pause it until that comes up. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, so it should come up with this kind of map here. If you go to the normal open OSM editor, that's just, you can see that in the other version. I tried Berlin a bit earlier. That didn't. It's quite low-lying buildings, isn't it? We could do London. Great thing about OSM, you can get cities from all over the place. Some cities don't seem to have 3D data. I'm not an expert on OSM. Yeah, what should we do? Where should we go? Let's go to, last time I did New York. So shall we do a different city? No, let's just do New York. It's a pretty cool city. So in this YouTube video, I'm going to take it a bit further and add some more materials onto the edit. In fact, I'm not going to do New York. I'm going to do somewhere near New York. It's a grid system. Yeah, does that? Yeah, that's Brooklyn, isn't it? So there's a nice grid system going on here, and I'll take this. So what I do is I can show selection rectangle, and because I'm doing it on a server, I don't have to download this. I keep it quite small because I find with larger data it tends sometimes to not import. Let's do this. So this should give some quite a lot of data there. I'm going to reduce it somewhat. Yeah, let's try that. So let's copy that. So we just press copy, and that should be copied now onto the server I hope, and we can import it. Did I do that correctly? I'll soon see. Or did I have to paste it? All right, so what I did is that I had to paste it because it was importing in Moscow. So when in Blender or other 3D programs, you also find you have cutoff issues. So in Blender, I just press Select A and press S and then drag the mouse down. So we drag it to a scale. It's not going to do that. Okay, so we've got some interesting buildings going on here. It looks almost like a sort of dystopian, you know, Eastern European communist bloc. I'm not trying to get the replica of New York, Brooklyn. I'm looking. Oh, look at that. I'm just looking at shapes that I can use to make sort of imaginary cities. But that's pretty cool. I love these buildings. Anyone know what they are? Perhaps I'll look them up at a later date. You know, so we can actually. Is that gonna? Geez, head. Yeah, I thought that polygon wasn't connected to the sides. So we can do stuff like this. So we can turn these into really high buildings. Okay, we can do things like select random. So in this version oh no, we can select similar. So in this version in this version I opted to space to search. It's quite a good option to do. So space, select similar. Is that going to select similar? Polygon sides. Is that going to work? Wow, that's actually selected. That's very clever. That's selected similar shapes, not just similar polygons on the plane. So yeah. So now oh, look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Whoops. G, Z, bring it up. Okay. Let's choose something else like this. Select similar. Polygon sides, G, Z. You can do it quicker than this. I like sort of doing manual kind of stuff. So that's quite nice, isn't it? But cities are kind of like a composition in themselves. So they often have a center, even if it's a European city. So in a way, we're turning Brooklyn into a kind of more of a European looking city. It was quite low-lying buildings and some skyscrapers in the center. This could be some sort of, you know, communist socialist bloc controlling all the way the city works, or it could be capitalist office blocks. You know, this is the great thing about, I love coming up with imaginary cities because your imagination fires a bit like when you're a kid, you know, building blocks or building blocks with Lego. So that's looking quite nice. Okay, I'm gonna not add a plane because what I'm gonna do is have it kind of like a glowing grid Neuromancer overlay kind of thing going on. It all looks fairly one color. There's a bit of what you have to do is you have to select. Okay, we've only got two materials anyway, so we can just play around with those. So I'm going to make it this blue. In fact, can I delete that? Yes. So now it's all just one material, and I'm gonna. If you import, say, a more a famous area like New York, it was coming up with millions of materials. So what you had to do is just create a new material and then just link that by pressing Control and L in Blender to materials. So it usually gets rid of all the other materials in the scene because it is very tricky just to work with hundreds of materials, especially in Blender. I'm going to take that color to some sort of weird bluey color. You'll see what I'm doing in a minute. I'm going to make. Okay, I'm on the solid view, so I'm going to take it to Eevee. And it's dark. So why is it dark? Shift add, probably because there's no light in the scene. Yes, so GZ. Sun, RZ, okay, RR. Alright, so that's coming on, isn't it? What's that? Wow. That's very bright over there. Whoops. It's very bright over there, isn't it? It's because I've put it on, select the object with the material on again. I've done it multiply. So you can, you know, you can make some nice effects here without actually messing around with the shader channel. Sorry, the shader here. So you can actually just have it as on the which is called here. This is the blend mode, which I'm just going to do that for this session. It's just I'm just showing you what we can do and how we can get it further to be more like an imaginary city. Okay, so all right, so we're in object modes, and I'm going to shift and D that again. So I've duplicated the model, and then I'm going to go to add modifier, and I'm going to go to wireframe. And what wireframe does is create a wireframe around. Well, it doesn't. If it was just a single model, it'd just be a wireframe. So it kind of makes a wireframe, but the wireframe's solid, if you see what I mean. So you can add the thickness, so it's actually in the scene. Yeah. I'm going to reduce the thickness a bit. It's getting quite complicated. Okay, so that's wireframing. In fact, I'm going to increase it. It's just because it's such a big scene, it's very... I'm going to probably, because the scene's looking so complex, I might make that, I might take down the, I might make that opaque for now. And I'm going to get the wireframe object, and I'm going to make that into, take away the material on that, make a new material, and make that into an emission material. Where is it again? I can always miss out where it is. See, because I've been a Max user for years, so I'm using Blender all the time now, but there's still things that I'm thinking in 3ds Max mode. So that's got, so the emission makes it white like that. Perhaps we can reduce the buildings down like that. Shall we delete the roads? Yeah, let's delete the roads to make it look a bit more, almost like a microchip. Okay. And we've got the background, so we can quickly just get rid of the, again, they've changed the icons for this build as well, so we can make the background dark. And that's kind of okay, isn't it, I guess? Can we, that's very retro. And I just found out this button, I usually I was going to overlays on this new version, getting rid of all the overlays there. You can actually just ping that, and then it gets rid of the overlays. So if you're viewing an Eevee, you can see it how it is. What I'm going to do is A to press select. Okay, that's quite nice to leave these roads in. I'm going to, in fact though, I'm going to make the roads, just make sure I've selected the roads, I'm going to make the roads the emission material. This is where it gets complicated, and this is where you should call your, yeah, so this is, I'm going to call this glow, because there seems to be a residue of other materials on the road. Okay, so I'm going to left click, and then we're going to go to, what did I call that again? Glow. And we can make the roads glow. Okay, so I'm going to select this all, and then I'm just going to S and Z and scale it up. Not that much, that's a bit silly. And as you can see now, it's kind of taking on an interesting retro look. One thing though, the sun is not, so I'm going to click that button, which the button is display overlays like gizmos and routines. What does it say? Outlines, sorry. It's late. The sun's not really doing what I want it to do, so I'm going to delete that. Don't know why, because usually it does. Perhaps I just need to RR and make it a bit, shuffle it around. RZ. It's okay. And press A, and I'm gonna go to modifier. Where is modifier? Oh god. Okay. A modifier mirror. One thing I'll say with Blender, it's very good, but I don't know if it's because I've done 3ds Max over the years for so many years, or just that the GUI on programs like 3ds Max is more intuitive, because I'm finding I use Blender a lot for commercial works now, but I'm still stalling sometimes. Okay, so, and we can do the mirror on Z, so it mirrors it that way round. So you can kind of play with it and make buildings below the buildings. We could add a mesh. Scale it. Whoops. Plane, I mean. Where is the plane? Just lost it. The plane is there. So we can scale the plane up. And then we can put the plane below like that. So it's kind of a city standing up on legs. I'm going to create a new material in that. And just take it down a bit like that. Click on that to get rid of all the overlays. And now you've got some weird stilted city, like so. I'm probably going to delete that actually, because I like just the city floating in nothing. Okay, so the world is still a bit grey. So in theatre design, actually, throughout the years, they never... I read this once. I think it's true in films as well. You don't use pure black. You use slightly black, so it's very, very dark blue. Yep. And then I'm going to go to the render settings, the real-time render settings. Remember, we're in Eevee here. Yeah. And I'll click on bloom. So that's immediately giving an interesting look, isn't it? However, the roads are taking over the actual composition. So I'm going to just, for sake of convenience and this speed of the lesson, I'm going to delete the roads. It's quite good actually to have one road. So when you're doing cities, you know, imaginary cities, you need to think about the kind of composition of the city. So this is quite good. This has kind of got like some sort of monorail thing slicing through the city here, just by the fact of some road or something in the actual open city open map modifier. What's it called again? Sorry, it's late today. OSM, Open Street Map. Yeah. And we can, you know, mess around with the bloom as we did in the medieval generator. So if you look back at my video about using the medieval generator, it kind of has come up with a similar thing, but in a way I prefer this because it's much, much more ordered. The medieval one just spreads out, but this actually looks more convincing. So this kind of look, and the reason why I'm playing around with this like this today, I want to do a city map kind of this for my 3zuni.com universe. I want to work on some sort of maps and actually tell stories using the maps from above or perspective views. What I did think is having kind of something on I don't think I'll do this, but a website on my website 3zuni.com at part of it, and you'd roll over and it would pop up information about the map where you were. Okay, so that's bloom. So we can play around with the effects like bloom, depth of field. I'm not going to bother with that now. Subsurface, yeah, you can do that if you've got. Well, let's have a play around with subsurface on that material. Yeah, on the city materials. Let's take that to the Eevee shader again, and let's crank up subsurface. Is it going to? Whoa! So now it's doing quite interesting things, and we probably reduce the subsurface color. Well, to make it black or something. Yeah, so you can start messing around with stuff. Just make it a bit different, you know, like green, blue, neon blue. I mean, it's going to take a lot of tweaking and getting right, because 3D is like a painting or a sculpture. I always get annoyed if people think it's just clicking some buttons, because you know, you're not you don't have a brush, you're not getting dirty. I do traditional art as well, for those of you who don't know, so I know the similarities. In fact, it's 11:30 now, and I do a draw every day and put it on Instagram, and I've got to do that tonight. That's quite good, isn't it? Making that blue, sort of a neon blue. And then, you know, we could have an animation. I'll just shrink that, sorry. And we can have an animation path going through that, or you could put this into a game like Unreal, the Unreal Engine, and have a kind of game in your imaginary city. Quickly before I go, let's look at some of the other, see what some of the other settings will do. Screen space reflections, yeah. That works if you've got actual reflective surfaces. Let's click that. It reflects reflections, if you see what I mean. Subsurface metallic. Let's see what's going to happen. My computer, if you're wondering, is fairly powerful. I can write the stats if you want. I can't remember. It's GeForce GTX card, VR reality ready. Wow! So now, just by playing around with it, we've got like a shine on that side. So it's really getting quite retro-y and Neuromancer-ish. If you don't know, check out William Gibson's Neuromancer. It was an inspiration for all the cyberpunk genre up until this day. Aren't they making a cyberpunk game called Cyberpunk 2077? It looks pretty interesting to me. And as you can see, the bloom's really cranking up here because of this light shining here. So we can obviously take the threshold. We can edit. We can mess around with the controls. There you go. That's nice. Wow, it's got like a double. That must be from. No, it's. Don't know. We can have volumetrics in it, motion blur, adjust the shadow. Freestyle isn't fully integrated into Eevee yet. I don't know if it will be. We can. What else can we do quickly before you get too bored? Color management. We can go. I like using the curves in color management, and Eevee's fantastic because you see the result directly, almost instantaneously. So it's kind of like post-processing, but in the actual real-time viewport, like so. Okay, that's it. It's not the most amazing imaginary city in the world, but you can see how it works, how we got this from just Brooklyn in NYC, and how it's created kind of an automatic, interesting city that we could edit further. Thank you very much. Check out my art site, jamesabelart.com, my science fiction story, 3zuni.com, where I use techniques in these imaginary city videos and more. And you can contact me here on YouTube or Twitter at jamesabelart and Instagram at jamesabelart. And my videos here are about using tools like Blender, 3ds Max, Substance Painter, Substance Designer, sketching to make imaginary cities. It's not just a channel about how to use Blender or 3ds Max. Use the tools to do what you want to do. Anyway, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.